Greetings, esteemed bastards. That's a nod to my teenage son, Sam, who thought that we needed a snappy, gender-neutral welcome. So you've heard of drunk history? We are now going to try drunk poli-sci. And I've got some questions for some of my anarchist friends out here in the left bread tube, whatever the hell we're calling it these days. So, been watching a number of videos, Bo the Fifth Column and some other folks out there. And while I'm not a self-identified anarchist, I do have some anarchist sympathies. The idea of decentralizing power sounds great to me. And as an anarchist friend of mine once said, anarchy doesn't mean no rules, it means no rulers. Which sounds okay until you have a group of people all standing around going, well, I don't know, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? So, needless to say, I am not fully on board with the anarcho-syndicalist point of view. And I'll give you a good reason why. Standards. I'm hoping this will be a non-political type example, but to give you a little bit of obscure history, back in the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, there were no standards. Every machine that was created using that manufacturer's specific specifications. You didn't have interchangeable parts. You didn't have standard units or measurements in a tool and die sort of setting. I mean, yes, you had the standard gallon during the middle of the 19th century. The International Standards Institutes instituted things like the meter and the kilogram and so on and so forth. So how does anarchy resolve the need for standards? Because obviously, if we're going to decentralize a lot of things, we still need to have national standards, international standards, scientific standards, medical standards. Standards are a thing that we still need to have, and we can't just simply let individual organizations or unions set their own standards. To get a little bit more political, this gets into a problem of the conflict between local control and national standards. It's fine for individual localities to say, we would like to have a higher standard of living. The Bay Area of San Francisco, for example, should implement a higher wage because it is more expensive to live in that area. However, the opposite really isn't true. I mean, states' rights gave us Jim Crow. So sometimes local control is bad. How do we resolve that? I'm not going to try and posture and make like I know all of the answers. I'm trying to get feedback from self-identified anarchists about how we resolve the differences between, or how we resolve the conflicts between decentralizing things and still needing to have bare minimum standards across the board. We can't let local control allow a majority of people in that locality to oppress a minority. You know, if you're going to say, well, local control means that this 100 people get to decide how they want to live, allowing those 100 people to say, you know what, these 10 people are going to do all the work and the rest of us are going to exploit them for it. Not a good way of doing things. So I would like to hear some feedback about that. Another thing that I've been hearing from these videos that I've been watching are the idea that we need to build competing infrastructure. And what's usually referenced is things like community gardens and housing cooperatives and community defense initiatives and things like that. And again, that all sounds really good. I mean, obviously having a community garden is better than not having a community garden. The thing is that I live in a city. I live in a city of over 500,000 people. And granted, not all of them, need these alternative power structures. There is a small percentage of them that are very well off and have means and don't need anything like this. The vast majority of us don't. And we would definitely benefit from having these alternative power structures, this alternative infrastructure. The problem is how? How do we do this? 12 people organizing a community garden is great for those 12 people. My neighborhood has hundreds, going on thousands of people that need to be fed every day, day after day. How do these small community networks, these co-ops, scale up to that level? I'm very serious in this. How does this scale up? I mean, because I don't know about all y'all, but most of the people that I live around, we don't want to be farmers. We don't want to be spending 10, 20 hours or more out of our week raising the food that we need to eat every day. There are some things that we like to have that don't grow in our locality. Coffee, bananas, things like that. So, how does anarchy address these things? And again, I'm not trying to be snide. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm legitimately asking questions. How do we scale this up? You want to talk about housing cooperatives? In Milwaukee, we need somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 50,000 units of affordable housing. Anywhere from, one person, one bedroom apartments up to multifamily or, large families that have 5, 6 kids that are all going to be living in the same thing. How do we do that? Because most of the people that I know are spending the vast majority of their time trying to keep from being homeless and hungry. Maslow's base level of needs, they're meeting it, but at the same time, those needs are not secure. They're one bad day away from having those needs being severely threatened. So without that level of security, what do we do? How do these alternative infrastructures scale up to the level of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people? Because community garden doesn't sound like an effective way of feeding hundreds of people. Let me know what you think. How do we do this? So I'm not going to make this an incredibly long video. I've kind of run out of things to say right here. I am going to try and start doing more of these. If we end up doing drunk poli-sci as kind of a thing, I'm totally down with that. Milwaukee Monster, we drink here in this town. I don't have anything to like, share, or subscribe, click, blah, anything like that. So the idea is to get the ideas out. It is much more important that people understand where I'm coming from than I get recognition for thinking these things, saying what I'm saying. If you know anybody that you can share this with that you think might be able to help, I'm perfectly willing to start building that community. I want to start, getting that community network, as they say, together. I'm just looking for some direction as to how we scale that up. So thank you. Y'all have a good evening.